Right, so I'm Jackie. Before my diagnosis, I felt as fit and healthy as I'd ever done in my life. I'd finished work 4 years beforehand. I was looking after my granddaughter. I'm an ex-head teacher. Um, I'm a governor at a local school. I'm a volunteer childline counsellor. I'd been brave and I'd had my cataracts on my eyes done, so I'd had to have a break from running and swimming, which are kind of the things I just do all the time. I'd signed up to do the Great North Run, and then the brown envelope dropped on the mat that said you need to come back following your routine mammogram, and I froze. I've never frozen like that for anything in my life. I just absolutely went pale, couldn't speak. And even though it was just you're coming back for extra scans, possible biopsies, something deep inside me knew it wasn't going to be that simple. And it still wasn't that simple. They still told me it probably wasn't. And it wasn't till the morning of my appointment that they phoned up and went, "We can't do this over the phone, you need to come in," that I knew it was actually cancer. I had a lumpectomy. I didn't want reconstruction because I wanted to be well for my son's wedding later in the year, a couple of months later. So I wanted to be well for that. Um, I don't regret that because I look at that score every day, which is really neat and amazing. And how they did that, I don't know, because it's the physical thing I need to remind me that actually I've been through this journey. I had a 2-week wait after the surgery to see whether I needed chemo, and I didn't, to which I think I cried with relief. The thought of losing my hair was actually one of the things I was terrified about. Didn't want to be at my son's wedding with no hair. That sounds so vain. So vain. I pushed the boundaries as I always did and read the leaflets in my own terms, which when it said you can't do physical activity for 6 weeks, but did say you could go back in the swimming pool after 3 weeks, I decided that as going swimming was a physical activity for me, that meant I could run. So I continued my running. I did my son's wedding, which was lovely and full of love, but I think I was a bit of a space cadet. Getting there had been such hard work. I started taking the first bit of my tablets 10 days later, my biphosphonates. I then had my radiotherapy, which was 5 days, which I really didn't realise was 5 days of very intensive radiotherapy. I absolutely exhausted by it all. And then I did the Great North Run 18 days later, which was just, it was just the most, but it was the most amazing experience. I saw, as you walk for as long doing the Great North Run to get to the start line as you do virtually doing the run. And as I was walking by the pens of people, because I'm in the back pen, because I'm in the slow one, and I don't know the lady's name, but she's the lady who runs topless, having had her 2 mastectomies. And I watched her take her tops off. And I was just like, it's in awe. And I got to the back of my pen and I'm stood there and thinking, okay. And I looked around and there was a young girl in a Maggie's vest. And I just, because I'm in a childline vest, because that's who I was, well, at NSPCC, that's who I was kind of doing it for. And everybody around, everybody in that back pen is in a charity vest of some sort or other. And I saw this young woman and I went to her and I just said, thank you. I said, because Maggie's have saved me. Without their support. And she just burst into tears, absolutely burst into tears. She was doing it for her dad, who'd recently died, and he'd ran the race before, and she was from there. And then we met another woman who was also in a Maggie's vest. She had her story. But as I did the run, there's so many women in breast cancer nurse vests. So if I went past every one of them, I tapped them on the shoulder and thanked them for doing it for me. And sorry. Sorry. It was just the most incredible experience just to be part of, so that it was just so human. It was so full of people doing things for other people with Marie Curie vests on with the name of who they were doing it for on their back. lots of blood cancer things. It was just incredible. And then you come over this hill, this old guy had told me I was not to run down the last hill because she tired, and he'd done it 40 times. And he said, I've watched too many people fall over and trip over. I took no notice whatsoever. And I ran down, and I ran down that hill, and I did my 90-degree turn at the bottom, knowing, and I was kind of running along, not knowing where my kind of husband and my friends were, but knowing they were somewhere in that kind of stretch. And my beautiful friend Jackie, who was with me, is from the northeast, and I just heard this voice go, "There she is!" and kind of could turn around and look. I think that's the day my husband smiled the most in the whole of this journey. He was so pleased that I'd done it. And they've got her cousin with them, who all he knew about me was that I was a 62-year-old woman who had just finished having treatment for breast cancer, and he'd done the Great North Run, he'd done trail running. He's tracking me on the app, just apparently going, she's doing really well. She's doing really well. She really is doing really well. And that was phenomenal. And running in that period of treatment really was the time I didn't feel I had breast cancer. And that's why it was so important. And it was my absolute escape. It was the time, because it was hard work, it was the time my head didn't think about it. So that was just brilliant. And then I had to start the hormone tablets because I refused to start them until I'd done it. And then you just hit the fatigue journey. And that's that journey and battle I'm still finding in. I haven't found my place with that. I am ridiculously doing a 10k run in a few weeks' time, and a long swim, and 2 half marathons. But we won't put those ones out there. But it's finding your way, which I'm sure you two have done. It's finding your way. And the only other words I can use to describe it is the biggest head fuck I've ever come across in my life. I love that.